I'm going to introduce another proud member of our military. I want to bring up Mike Almy. Mike was born into the military. He was a West Point graduate. His uncle served in World War II, in Korea, and in Vietnam. Mike graduated in the top 10% of all ROTC graduates nationwide and went on to active duty in 1993. Mike was deployed to the Middle East 4 times. He led a team of 200 men and women in Iraq where they came under daily mortar attacks. We should all be proud to have Major Mike Almy in our midst today and serving our country.
In May of this year, I sat in the House of Representatives in the gallery, and I watched Congresswoman Shelley Pingree vote to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Let's give it up for Shelley. Thank you for that great introduction. I am one of the 14,000 kicked out under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I am one of the casualties in the war of gays that our military has declared against gay and lesbian Americans. And nothing makes me prouder than to stand here before you and see all of you come here on such short notice to fight for such a worthy cause. This is democracy in action. So give yourselves a big round of applause. As Shelley just mentioned, I grew up in the military. My father retired from the Air Force. He was a senior officer. I had several other uncles that served in the military, and I always knew that I would grow up and follow in my father's footsteps and continue on that tradition. It's just what I was born to do. In 1993, I came on active duty, right as Don't Ask, Don't Tell was becoming a policy, was being debated in the national scene. I never envisioned that I would become a statistic or become a casualty and caught up in its snare. I grew up in the military. I kept my personal life far removed from my professional life, and my only obligation, the only thing that was at the forefront of my mind was just to be the best officer that I could be and serve my country as well as I could. I did 4 deployments to the Middle East. On my last, I was serving in Iraq, where I was leading a team of nearly 200 men and women who were controlling the airspace over Iraq. And nothing made me prouder than to serve alongside those men and women, to represent them over there in harm's way and keeping America safe from the tyranny that's out there. While I was deployed to Iraq, I wrote personal emails to family and friends, to loved ones, to keep in touch with them, to ease the stress of a combat zone. Some of those emails were to a boy that I had dated, a man that I had dated, another member of the Air Force. What I did not realize was after I left Iraq, someone in the unit that replaced mine inadvertently stumbled upon those emails and proceeded to read them. The Air Force in Iraq, during the height of the insurgency, ordered a search of my private emails solely to determine if I had violated Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and to use those against me. I was called into my commander's office. He read me the military's policy on homosexuality and handed me the stack of emails and had said, "How do you explain these?" And I refused to answer the question. The Air Force asked, and I didn't tell. It was the Air Force that had violated Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and not myself. I was fired from my spot there on the job, leading nearly 200 men and women. My security clearance was suspended, and I was forced to endure a 16-month grueling legal ordeal before I was finally thrown out. And shortly before I left the military, the Air Force actually recommended that I be promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. So clearly it wasn't about my duty performance. I'm here today just to be another example, to be a face on how horrible this law is. In March of this year, I testified before the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I told my story to the Senate. Senator Collins was there. I looked her in the face, I looked her in the eyes, and told her my story, and she was visibly moved by it. A few months later, Senator Collins voted in the committee to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and now it's time for her to do so again. Which is why Lady Gaga wanted to bring all of us here today, was to bring the fight to their backyard so they can hear from their constituents. Senator Collins and Senator Snowe need to hear from you and know that Maine supports repeal. Don't Ask, Don't Tell doesn't just affect the gays and lesbians in the military. It affects gays and lesbians all across America, and it treats them as a second-class citizen and says they are unworthy to serve their nation for who they are. They have to lie about who they are and sacrifice their integrity. Well, we're here to demand an end to that. So let's give it up for repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell.